April is Autism Awareness Month Playmaker. Each year we invite advocates in Kansas City to talk about autism. This year we have a woman who has been a strong force in educating the world about autism. Holly Robinson Peete.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Wife, mother, actress, advocate. When I was preparing for this interview, Holly, I saw you on Sesame Street when you were 4 years old.
Wow.
That brings back a bad memory because my dad was Gordon on Sesame Street, right?
Yes.
And you would think that would give me, an automatic opportunity to be on the show, but he didn't want me to be in show business. So all my friends in Philadelphia on the block in Philly got to go up to New York and be on, but my dad wouldn't let me be on. I'm like, where is the nepotism? How is my daddy Gordon and I can't get on the show?
Hello.
So I finally got on. I begged and pleaded, and I had one line, and I blew my one line. I was supposed to say, hi, Gordon, and I kept saying, hi, Daddy. I haven't gotten over that yet. 50 years later, I'm still mad.
The documentary for 50 years of Sunny Days aired last week. What do you think about Sesame Street's programming as it relates to addressing autism?
Oh, I love it. They actually asked me to help them launch the Muppet character of Julia. And so I've been very involved in a lot of that. They reached out to the autism community to research her and really launched her in a great way. And I was so glad to be part of that. I went to D.C. and introduced her and interviewed her, and it was really awesome. Yeah, it's a full circle moment for me. As I said, growing up, being, Sesame Street being part of my childhood, my father starting the show, and then full circle 50 years later, I was able to come back on the show from our reality show, Meet the Peete. I went on and visited again. And then, the Julia connection is amazing because my son RJ, with his autism, this has been a long, long journey, and we've had some highs and some lows, but there was never any representation on TV of autism. You couldn't turn the TV on and see a character with autism, and so I wish he had that growing up, but I'm so happy for young children today who are able to see themselves on Sesame Street now because of Julia.
How do you feel about society becoming more aware of autism from when you first started?
Well, it's funny because when RJ was diagnosed, there was very little awareness and certainly very little acceptance. People who are highly educated around me didn't know anything about autism, so I had to school a lot of people, sometimes not so graciously, as you could imagine. It's really amazing how far we've come. But it was difficult back then because not a lot of people even knew what autism was. And to be honest, I didn't either until we got the diagnosis. But now what we wanted to share were, the triumphs, the progress. And we were told that RJ would never do so many things when he was 3 years old. And one of them was he would never have meaningful employment. And now, here we go 20 years later, he just got presented by the Dodger players his World Series ring yesterday. And of course, I've been crying ever since.
Wow.
And it was such a great full circle moment to see this kid who really was given not much of a shot at doing much in his life. And so I say to anybody who's listening that if you get a diagnosis of autism, there are so many possibilities for your child. And never let anybody tell your kid what they will never, ever do or what they will never be able to achieve. Advocate for him or her and build a team, and let's go.
Talking with Holly Robinson Peete this morning. It is Autism Awareness Month, and the work that you've done with the Holly Rod Foundation and bringing awareness to folks is unquantifiable. I will admit, I really had not a lot of information about autism before you came out and spoke about it. Now it seems as though this is something that more and more people are talking about. I have several people in my life with autistic children, and I feel good when I interact with them because some young people are okay with being touched. Some are okay with being spoken to, and others are not. Where can people get more information, Holly, if they're listening this morning and want to do so?
Well, you can go to hollyrod.org. We have a lot of information. There's so much information now, and just the fact that you can delineate and understand that autism is a spectrum disorder and that kids are going to be different. We say in the autism community, if you met one kid with autism, you just met one kid with autism. Everyone is different. That is a huge step in awareness because a lot of people for many years thought it was Rain Man or they had no point of reference. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do a reality show, because we wanted to show what autism can look like, and certainly in the Black community, because a lot of times in our community, kids are diagnosed 2 to 5 years later, and that presents a problem because you need that crucial window of intervention, and you got to get in there that you can give your kids the best chance to thrive in the world. So lots of awareness still needs to happen. There's so much information now, and I'm so glad about that, because I couldn't find really much of anything.
Talking with Holly Robinson Peete. So we got 2021 here now, Holly. What is in store for you for the rest of this year?
Well, besides our Holly Rod initiatives, I have a movie coming out on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. It's the 6th installment of Morning Show Mysteries, Mystery Wheel. I started doing these movies a few years ago. Really love them. This one, they're all inspired by Al Roker's novels, Morning Show Murders, and he's our executive producer. So that's coming out May 23rd. I joined the cast of American Housewife, and no, it's not a real housewife. Every time I say that, they're like, oh no, you're a real housewife. American Housewife is a hit show on ABC, and it's a sitcom. It's a comedy. So funny, and I have a lot of friends on that show, so I joined that. We're keeping our fingers crossed that we get a pickup for a 6th season, and I'm really just excited about still working after all these years, guys. You mentioned that Whip Appeal video, hilarious. That only if you know the long version. Only certain people know that I was ever in that video.
I'm a true R&B nista.
Yes.
Yes, you are. You scored some points.
Holly, you're just a few years away from 30 years of marriage with a former NFL player. You've got to have an answer key on this one. We know that Hollywood relationships, pro athletes, entertainers, unfortunately, the marriages don't last. What have you learned about being married for almost 30 years that you could share with a young whippersnapper such as myself who's in a 4-year relationship?
And me, who just got married last year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
So you guys, we do something called a 20-second hug. You guys know what that is?
No.
Please explain.
Well, each person can ask for a 20-second hug at any point, right? Even if you are so mad, he has made you so mad, the last thing you want to do is touch him. You have to give him a 20-second hug. And what happens when you hug for 20 seconds is really hard them first 15 seconds, but once you get to like 17, something happens ceremonially where you just soften. And you're not as mad, and you're thinking clearer. And those 20-second hugs really do work. Now, you still sometimes want to kill him after 20 seconds, but maybe not right away.
Holly Robinson Peete, thank you so much for calling up and talking with the Morning Grind with Shay and Shine this morning. Check out Holly Robinson Peete as Billy Blessings on the Morning Show Mysteries on Hallmark May 23rd.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.